Hey guys, your social studies recap. It's extremely helpful for the quiz you're fixing to take, so I hope you're watching and paying attention. This week we talked about Jamestown. It's the first English settlement that was successful in the Americas. It's located in present-day Virginia. 104 men came up over on 3 ships, the Susan Constant, the Discovery, and the Godspeed. It was a voyage funded by the Virginia Company. If you remember, they funded the trip with the expectations of getting rich off of the gold and precious metals that would be mined in the Americas. But if you recall, they didn't find any of the gold or precious metals that they thought they would find. And so that wasn't a very successful, investment for them at first. But they did send over 104 men. They were mostly gentlemen, people who did not know how to work. They pretty much had everything handed to them growing up and had servants and people who worked for them. So the idea of working in the field and harvesting the land and things like that, that wasn't something that they were accustomed to or prepared for. So starting off this settlement was a little bit difficult for them. However, they were under the leadership of somebody that was not raised as a gentleman, that knew about hard work, and that was John Smith. He encouraged the colonists to work and to make the settlement as successful as they could.
The pop, the tea, or whatever you get out of the machines now will be $1.75. They're going up on the prices.
Anyway, sorry, that I'm recording this during my planning period, so you'll have to excuse the interruptions from the PA. But anyways, so he knew a lot about hard work, and he encouraged the colonists to be hard workers and to cultivate the land and things like that. He even coined the phrase that if you didn't work, then you weren't going to eat. So he made sure that they were working the land and trying to become a successful settlement, probably what made it successful. They did come up with the Great Charter, or the Grand Charter, whatever you want to call it. That was where the king approved that they could have indentured servants, which were people that they would pay for them to come over, work the land for 7 years, and land would be given to them at the end of the 7 years once their work was finished. So they came over in 1608 or 1607, 1608 time frame, and they landed at where Jamestown is, on the James River, right on the Atlantic coast. So it was a great area for them. They thought it would be extremely fertile because the Indians that were living there, the Native Americans, the Powhatan Indians that were there, had already cultivated the land. And so they knew that it was good for growing things. However, the brackish in the water, where the salt and the fresh water meet, left the land very dry, and they had to really work hard to get the land cultivated. So that was an issue that they faced early on. However, they felt being on the water that close to the ocean, they would be able to prevent attacks and things like that. So they were pretty pleased with the area that they found. John Rolfe, he was one of the people on the ship coming to this land, coming to the Americas. His ship actually got held up in the Caribbean because of a hurricane, and he actually, while he was there, he found tobacco different than the tobacco they were growing in England, and he smuggled some of those tobacco seeds into Virginia, and they really were successful with growing tobacco in that area. And that became a cash crop for them. And a cash crop is like a crop that you grow that you sell for money and you make money off of. So they were selling tobacco back to England, and the English people really liked the taste of it and stuff. So that was successful for them, and John Rolfe brought that to them. Let's see, we did talk about the House of Burgesses. When they came over here, they couldn't just kind of have a free-for-all. They needed some kind of organization, some kind of rules and laws to follow. So they set up what they called the House of Burgesses, which is the beginning of democracy as we know it. They had the president, which was John Smith. He was president or governor, whatever you want to call it, of the Jamestown settlement. And they set up a system where they had the president and his council, or the governor and his council and his advisors, and then they elected representatives in another house. And together they were collectively the House of Burgesses, and they made the laws and enforced the laws for the people of Jamestown to follow. And they definitely needed this. They wanted to govern themselves, but they also knew that they needed to be governed. They needed a system of order. And that's where our democracy is going to come about later. But that's basically what we talked about this week in a nutshell. I think I covered pretty much everything that you will need to know on your quiz. If you've highlighted like you were supposed to as we went over it in class, and were paying attention as we reviewed over it, then you should absolutely do great on the assignment. It's the same assignment we do every Wednesday on our virtual days. You'll do great on it. If you didn't pay attention, if you didn't highlight, it may be a bit of a struggle, and you will need to probably go back and reread or listen to the newspaper of Studies Weekly so that you can familiarize yourself at least where the information is, so that you can find it for your quiz. I don't have a problem with you using your newspaper on the quiz. That's what it's there for. That's why we highlighted, and hopefully everything will explain itself. I hope that you have a good day, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Happy Virtual Wednesday.